Good evening, everyone. This is Enrique Sanchez, founder and director of Spanish United, and welcome to Spanish United Radio. Today, we have a very special guest. Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
How you doing, everybody? My name is Alvaro Gonzalez. I am a Mexican national that has been living in Houston for the last 20 or so years. I actually know somebody from the organization. His name is Ivan Caban. Me and him have been friends with each other since we were in college. Um, Pretty much, I've just been interested in the idea of either, ever since I was a kid, I've always been interested in the idea of either joining a law enforcement or military organization. And I actually have been training in different survival tactics ever since I was about, I want to say, 16 or 17 years old. I've been more or less self-teaching myself weapons basics. Uh, I even took up martial arts when I was about 13 or 14 years old.
Hmm.
I'm a green belt in kung fu. Um, Pretty much more or less about me right now. I'm trying to find something that can allow me to express not just my skills but my interests.
Hmm.
I feel like this organization can more or less help me do that.
Right. You know that you are one of the last directors that I interviewed because since you joined the organization, I haven't had really the opportunity to really do an interview with you because of circumstances, but finally we were able to do so. And by Ivan's invitation is the reason why I considered you to join because I feel that we need to unite all Hispanic people, regardless of nationality or background. And technically, you are replacing another director that I have that I used to have. God rest in peace. You didn't get to meet him, but he was name was James. He was Dominican. He was the director of the Spanish United chapter of Baltimore. But when he passed away, that seat kind of remained vacant for a while. And I remember Ivan spoke to me about you, and I decided, why not? Let me give you a chance. I got a chance to speak with you in private and get to know you a little bit more. And I think you are definitely a right fit because I feel that with having a Mexican American or Mexican national with Spanish United could also be as a bridge to bring Hispanic, I mean, not Hispanic, Mexican and Chicano people to be part of Hispanic unity because right now the Hispanic community tends to be divided based on tribalism by ethnic, not ethnic, but by more by nationality and citizenship. And one of the things that we do in Spanish United is that we try to bridge that gap of bringing all Hispanic people, regardless of nationality, to work together because we have a common denominator, which is we are Latino, we are Hispanic, we speak Spanish as our mother tongue or second language, and our culture is from Latin America, and we shouldn't be divided based on nationality or citizenship or where we come from, because at the end of the day, we are all the same people. So I feel it's very important that you know with you being this part of this organization, you could help Ivan in helping your particular chapter move and grow and expand at the same time. Be able to do outreach and reach out to different Hispanic groups in the state of Texas because Texas has a huge Hispanic population, particularly Mexican American, Mexican nationals, and I think Spanish United could do a lot of good for the Hispanic community there. So, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is that you had mentioned something about doing law enforcement because I had spoken to Ivan in the past that eventually I would like to do like a Spanish United patrol unit where it's kind of like private security where at the beginning we could start with volunteers and eventually make it into a paid um, a paid career to protect Hispanic people within their own communities. Like a lot of Hispanic people are being assaulted, harassed, murdered by Hispanophobes and people that don't like Hispanic people. Anti-Hispanic sentiment has grown by over 200%. And other ethnicities like the Jewish community, the Armenian community, the Persians, the Asians, they all have private volunteers or private security that protects them, but we're the only people that don't have that. So I want to ask you, like, what ideas do you have for the Spanish United Patrol eventually once we get more organized or more established? Like, what are the ideas that you have in forming a Spanish United Patrol?
I actually more or less have the idea of not just forming this organization the way that it needs to, but more or less being able to introduce the idea of having different branches of this thing, of this, I guess you could say, organization, patrol organization. It could be a thing to where we have different branches all in cities all over the country and possibly even some of the bigger small towns. We could have, you know, in the same way that law enforcement agencies, military agencies that I know for a fact operate, where they have different bases, they have different HQs, they have different people that run these places. We
Mhm.
more or less can have somewhat of a, you know, something similar to obviously that in our in this aspect of things, in this aspect of us try, or like you said, us trying to create some sort of security thing for the Hispanic people, you know, something that can more or less benefit us. I believe it'll be very beneficial uh, for us to more or less have that, like you said, because you know, obviously we need to protect our people, and the thing about it is, um, we're not the only ones that do that right now. You know, the Chinese have their own people that they hire as security, the Iranians also as well. You know, many of the white and black communities that have businesses and that hire their own people, they usually try to hire, you know, black or white security guards to help them in their things. And I mean, just take a look at like organizations like the Secret Service. Most of them are made up of, you know, obviously, you know, they obviously try to hire different minorities and different ethnicities, but most of them are white, you know, and they protect one of the most important people in the planet, in the world, really. So I feel like it'll be more or less for us to have some sort of security force that can allow us to, you know, more or less be able to protect certain interests in the Hispanic and Latino community.
Mhm. Yeah, because I'm just seeing on a regular basis that many Hispanic vendors, many Hispanic shopkeepers, they constantly get harassed and robbed on a daily basis. And I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but Hispanics are the only ethnicity that don't fall under a minority protections clause, meaning that every time a crime is committed against a Hispanic person, they don't enact hate crime injunctions into that crime. They just treat it just as a regular crime. Like, let's say, for example, if someone attacks a Jewish person or a black person or an Asian person, now Asians have gotten minority protection. Apart from treating it as a crime, they also add a hate crimes clause, meaning that the person who commits that crime will get more time for what they did. And right now, Spanish United, we're trying to lobby to have laws or bills passed into law, so that way there could be protections to Hispanic people, because a lot of people feel that since Hispanics are not a race, they're an ethnicity, and the fact that they are one of the most underrepresented and most vulnerable out of all the minorities in this country, a lot of people take advantage and they feel, since Hispanics are not considered citizens, they're not an ethnicity, they could be of any particular background, and they're seen as passive aggressive. Let's go and harm them. And even if we harm them, no one's going to give us, hate crime punishments as they would do with the Jews or with the Arabs or other minorities. So I think it's very vital that we try to get these bills passed to become these bills to become laws, because Hispanophobia has run amok, especially since the past administration has come and went. And I feel that our people need to be protected from people that just want to harm us. I really feel that our people are in danger, from people that don't like us.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally understand and I agree with you. And not just it's not just situations that are obviously going on here in the country. It's also, I mean, take a look at the world over. You know, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of civil and really societal unrest. So I feel like it's going to get to a point where eventually we're going to need to have our own force to help protect our interests in the event that, to put it to you in the way that some of the old uh warrior types used to say, in the event that the war comes home, you know,
Right.
we need to have a force that can help us, you know, change the balance of power and help us
Hmm.
protect, you know, our people, our interests here at home.
Hmm. Well, yeah, because it's like it's become a real phenomenon that just because of a few bad apples that unfortunately cause trouble, people believe that it's okay to victimize and stigmatize Hispanic people because of the sense of a few bad apples, and I don't think that's okay. Like, let me give you an example that happened to me today. Like, I ordered some tickets on Everbright, which is a application that allows people to go to events. Sometimes you have to pay for them, sometimes for free. And I went to this museum in Pasadena, which I had reserved in advance in a month. And when we got there, the lady told us, "I'm sorry, but the it only says reservation, not admission." I said, "Okay, so how much is the admission?" The admission was this amount of money. He said, "Well, I'm sorry, I assumed that it was free because it said that the reservation was free." And then the lady was saying, "Oh yeah, because the reservation is free, but you just have to pay admission." Like, okay, not a problem. My mom, she's 85 years old, and she has a little bit of difficulty walking, so she needed to go to the garden part, in the museum to sit down to put on the brace. And then a few minutes later, this lady comes with a security guard, and she was like saying, "Oh, this is a paid restricted area." I said, "Excuse me, ma'am. My mom just needed to sit down for just a few minutes. She needed to put her knee brace on, and then we'll leave." And then I told her, "Look, I'm not here to waste nobody's time. Um, I just wanna let you know that when you're gonna be having events, if they're going to be paid, have it in bold letters, because there are people that are gonna go out of their way to visit the museum thinking that it's free when it says that it's free online, and then when they get there, it's not free. First of all, it's misleading, it's dishonest, and it's bad business. I just felt the prejudice from the curator, from the museum. It's like they feel that just because we are Hispanic, the Hispanic people don't appreciate culture. They don't appreciate sophisticated things. It's like they think that our purpose is to be domestic workers. That we don't have any value or any education whatsoever. So when we were coming out to the parking lot, there was a Hispanic lady that overheard us, and she said, "You should have told them that my mom gets like her, I don't know, her Medicare card or whatever, that they'll let her in for free." And I said, "I really appreciate your words, but I feel because of the attitude of the museum, it's obvious that they don't want our business, and I'm not gonna go to an establishment that treats me bad or doesn't make me feel welcome to give them my business." And I actually made a formal complaint to the museum to let them know what happened with this incident. So this is something that's been happening a lot on a regular basis, where Hispanic people are being discriminated against for services, when they're being discriminated against, being admitted to places. And that has to do because of the Hispanophobia that is running rampant. People have been conditioned, Alvaro, in this country, that Hispanic people are here to harm the United States. They're here to steal, to pillage, to destroy. And because of what's happening inside of the border with Mexico, and then many people that are coming across illegally, many people think that it's an invasion. And it just creates an excuse for people to behave badly. So I feel it's very important that we need to educate our people, especially when it comes to their rights, because in many cases a lot of our people fall through the cracks. So it's very important that there needs to be a protection for our people as well.
Education and protection. That's basically more or less the core basis on how this organization is going to be able to survive.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that you have mentioned a few other ideas that you had aside from the Spanish United Patrol, that you were mentioning something about Hispanics learning self-defense. You mentioned something like that.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of the a lot I'm sure you know, being the fact that you're probably as some of the things that I've been able to check out from your profile, you're somewhat of a martial arts fanatic,
That's
if I'm
correct.
not mistakenly assuming, correct?
No, that's
Okay,
correct.
so
I've been
you being
practicing martial arts since I was a kid.
good. So you you are aware that most of the martial arts that exist in the world are copies, or they're more or less creations from things or from arts that are no longer practiced.
That is correct.
So I feel like if we are able to do that, because there's also a couple of martial arts that are practiced in countries like Latin America, like I think that most of the countries in Latin America, they practice some sort of combat involving machetes and what have you, like
Right.
Haiti, Colombia, parts of Brazil,
Dominican
um,
Republic, Cuba,
Dominican Republic, Cuba.
Puerto Rico.
They more or less practice some sort of like machete style combat.
Right.
So if we're able to more or less apply that and get people in the community, or that people that are at least part of the patrol, to learn those kind of styles, I feel like it could be beneficial in that it could more or less not only allow us to protect ourselves, but protect people from our community.
Mhm.
You know, and the
So
thing,
you're saying that people should learn, for example, hand-to-hand combat aside from using like actual firearms.
I feel like, because the thing you gotta understand is this: like firearms are necessary, but they're not exactly in certain situations ideal to be used. You know,
Right.
firearms should only be used. You know, I was obviously raised here in Texas. You know, the Texans all their lives they learned that a firearm is just like any other tool that you have in your house. You know, it's like a hammer or a screwdriver or anything
Right.
else. It should only be used when the situation itself arises. A firearm is gonna do very little good in a situation where it's not needed.
Right.
So, in order for certain aspects and in order for certain people in our community to not be looked as bad, you know, we need to more or less learn the ways, the ancient ways of being able to incapacitate an opponent in a non lethal manner.
Right. Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. Like one of the things that I know in martial arts is that martial arts is not intended to hurt people, harm people, or kill people. The best way to resolve a conflict is by using your words through dialogue and to simply walk away. The only time you have to use it is when you're either forced to or you have no other way but to defend yourself, which is basically flight or fight, as they call it.
Exactly.
So in that aspect, I do agree with you. But I also believe that you know, if Hispanics are to defend themselves, they have to be taught uh discipline, because this is the thing. Unfortunately, for a lot of our young people, particularly the ones that are from the inner cities that have no direction, they feel that by being aggressive and violent, people are going to fear them, but they don't realize it causes people to hate them. So I feel that we need to have people that are certified, trained to train our people in self-defense, but also to be taught that you should always use dialogue and always use to learn coping situations that unless it escalates where you have to really use it, you don't need to use it because unfortunately in our culture, and it's with the black culture, uh it's within our nature to act up and be violent. Unfortunately, that's a fact. And unfortunately, that causes a lot of our people to end up incarcerated. And that becomes a revolving door, and that becomes a stigma that Hispanic people are seen as violent people. And I want to reverse that as much as possible. It's like we cannot decrease crime, per se, but we could try to minimize our people from being seen as violent people, especially now with the cartels and the gangs. A lot of people are scared of our people. They see us as violent people. So we need to find proactive ways to teach defense towards our people in a way that they're only taught that you only use it when you have to, not because someone looks at you wrong or disrespects you, that, you know what, I'm going to go and knock you out. So we have to teach discipline in using defense.
Of course, of course, I completely agree with you. It's just like when I remember when I stick kung fu, and my sensei used to tell me, your hands are lethal weapons, but they should only be used like any other weapon as a last resort.
Mm,
So it more or less comes down to, if it comes down to the ability to teach kids to not use violence for anything, and learn them learning discipline, they would have to more or less have, in order for you to truly understand, or for anybody really to understand why kids in these environments do what they do, it's because 9 times out of 10 they don't have a positive male role model. They don't have somebody to guide them in the right direction. They don't
correct.
have somebody telling them that what they're doing is wrong, or the way that they're acting is wrong, or they're letting their intrusive thoughts get in the way of them becoming better people.
Right.
They don't have anybody telling them otherwise. So I feel like it's also very imperative, if young people in the, like you said, in these inner city communities, in order for them to be taught in the right direction, somebody will have to more or less teach them how to be a respectable and responsible person first,
Mm,
before they can even learn any self-defense. Because a true person that can learn how to control its anger, its rage, whatever, you
mm,
know, can understand the true meaning and the true idea of what it's like to really be able to learn the martial arts, which is not just a self-defense mechanism, but I'm sure you can agree with me when I say this. It is a relaxation mechanism.
oh, absolutely. One thing that I've learned in martial arts is that it's not just about punching and kicking and spinning around. You have to learn breathing exercises, stretching exercises, techniques, focus, meditation. Martial arts is not just a discipline in sports. It's also a discipline in health. It's a discipline in nutrition. It also helps you to channel parts of your body to have it more balanced. That's what's the yin and yang. That's the channeling of chi. One of my seifus, which is Chinese for sensei, told me that there's no point of learning martial arts if you don't put the health component into it first. So I'm not sure if you've been following a lot of the things that I post about. I post a lot about on nutrition because part of the reason why a lot of Hispanic people become violent and do the things that they do, aside from doing substance abuse or alcohol abuse, a lot of the damage that they get comes from the foods that they eat. Like Hispanic Americans consume the worst diet, which is mostly processed foods and chemicals that could eventually create mental illness. And that mental illness, if it's not regulated, can lead into violence and leads to legal issues. And it could definitely be a recipe for disaster.
Right.
So I
Yeah, no, I
feel,
completely understand.
yeah, so I feel that's very important that we need to have more male, not only male role models, but also male Hispanics that are already successful, that they need to step up to the plate and volunteer and donate their time, because this is an issue that I've seen with many Hispanic people, unfortunately. When there's a Hispanic person or a group of Hispanic people that becomes wealthy and prosperous, the first thing that they do is that they leave the barrio, they leave where they're from, they completely forget where they come from, and they don't want to have nothing to do with where they come from. As with other communities, like with the Chinese, the Iranians, the Armenians, or even the Indians from India, once someone is wealthy in their community, they just don't take off and run. They reinvest in their communities. They volunteer their time. They be role models. They be examples towards the young people. So that way, hey, if this person made it, so can I. There's a lack of that. It's like it's the fact that many Hispanic people, especially the young people in inner cities, they look at people like Bat Bunny as a role model or Cardi B as a role model, then let's say um, a doctor or an
Somebody like Che
engineer.
Guevara. Cesar Chavez, or to a lesser extent, I guess, um, Frida Kahlo or some.
Exactly, exactly. They don't look at people that actually made a difference as role models. They look at, the rappers, the musicians, the athletes as being role models, and the way of not going to school. And I think that really needs to change.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. Just like you even said so yourself, there's a huge lack of discipline in communities like that. And it needs to be made an example to where a lot of these kids learn more about their about their ancestors more than just what they read about in what they hear about in movies, or books or music or TV shows or whatever. They need to be aware that the culture itself has expanded from a lot of ideals and a lot of beliefs,
Mhm,
and it is imperative for them to learn that.
mhm. Absolutely, and I feel that it's very important that education needs to be stressed, because education is not about learning a bunch of things that you may use or not use in life, but education is about taking knowledge and applying it to your life and to society. And I feel that that is something that is lacking within the Hispanic community. It's like, unfortunately, and I'm saying this as a Hispanic myself, it's like many Hispanic people have gotten so libertarian in the sense that all they care about is me, mine, get, take, that they don't look at the bigger picture, that it's not about you, but it's about the community itself. So I think it's very, very important that there needs to be more role models within the Hispanic community that can do what they can to be an example, because I feel the Hispanic people out of every other group is under assault by people that want Hispanics to assimilate either into um, Caucasian culture or African American culture. So I wanted to ask you, Alvaro, now that you are part of the Spanish United team, what would be your talents and gifts that you would bring to the Spanish United chapter that you have in Houston with Ivan?
Like I told you earlier, my interests are more or less trying to create a security force and stuff like that. But I also want to be able to raise awareness, especially in the Mexican side of things. Because I know you probably, like you said, you probably don't really have an ambassador that's Mexican.
Mhm,
So I want to be able to bring my side of things in the way that Mexican culture, Mexican politics, and everything else is like, being the fact that I am a Mexican national, somebody
mhm,
that's literally from over there. I know a lot about the culture, and I know a lot about the way that people are over there. I feel
mhm,
like I can bring that to the table being a part of this group.
Mhm.
And like I said, obviously me being a part of, the security force thing, I know enough, and like I told you the other day, as long as we're able to get in contact with the right people that can help us run this efficiently, we should it should be a problem at all in order for us to actually like take this off to the levels that it needs to be.
Mhm. Yes, I think it's important because, with everything you need funding. And I feel that by me knocking on doors, I'm talking with different politicians and lobbyists and different people of influence, that eventually we could get the resources that we need to start with a community center, which I've been doing on my side, and eventually over to your side, start like some type of private security, which eventually evolves, getting license, training, paperwork, because I feel that we need to provide a service for our people. Because Spanish United is not necessarily just a civil rights organization, which it is, but it's also an organization that provides services. Like I want to be known that we're helping the homeless, helping the poor, providing charity, providing services for our people, because that's what our people need more than anything else. Services that many of them are not getting from anywhere else.
I completely agree with you. I do completely agree with you on that.
And I also wanted to ask, since you're working with Ivan in the chapter, what would be the talents that you would want to bring to your particular chapter of Spanish United?
I would say that my unique talents is that I am very mission oriented. I don't mind following orders. I got a bit of a soldier's mentality.
Mm,
If I am given a job, I always see it through. And I am just basically more or less, to put it to you in a sense, with some of the old schoolers would like to say, I'm somewhat of a space cadet,
mm,
meaning I fall well within reason to be able to follow orders without any problem.
mm. Well, of course, because one thing that I learned when I worked in the business world is that, especially when you are a leader, being a leader is not about barking orders, but it's also leading by example and also taking charge and leading the team. And I feel that that's how I've been able to be successful in many parts of my personal life and my career, is that even though I have an organization that I'm the founder and director, um, I always listen to the concerns of all of my constituents, my directors. Of course, I make the final decision, but I always listen to everyone's concern, because as with any company, you need people to run it. There is no point that you can have money, but if you don't have people to run the company with you, there's really nothing you can do about it. So I feel that that's one of the things that I feel that's important in making Spanish United successful, is that I've been able to make myself available to my directors, at the same time to listen to their concerns. I think that's what it takes, to be an example of what a leader is supposed to be.
Right. No, I completely agree with you on that.
And one final note, because we only have a few minutes left. What would be your aspirations in Spanish United? Like, what do you want to see yourself achieve or be within the organization?
I would more or less would like to be able to eventually be able to run the Houston branch of the security force efficiently, with obviously the necessary backing and support from not just politicians but any businessman that is interested in donating to this cause. But also I would more or less like it to where more Mexican people, no matter what they more or less believe in and stuff like that, they would be given a chance to more or less, be open about their voices,
Mm,
because I feel like in order for a community to be a part of an organization, you will have to convince every member of said community, even the ones that you probably normally wouldn't agree with. I
mm.
feel like it's imperative for every single person that is either Chicano or Mexican descent to be given a chance to have a voice per se, even if it's boys you probably won't agree with, you probably won't more or less won't want to listen to. It's a great benefit. It's what separates us from, to put it to you in a sense, the communists.
Right, of course, absolutely. And I feel that through democracy and civil discourse, all different opinions are heard, regardless if we agree with them or not. That's how democracy works. So we concluded the end of our time. I want to tell you, Alvaro, thank you so much for being on the show, for being a guest. And I will send you the link via email, messenger, and text, and you can share it with whoever you want to. And we'll definitely talk tomorrow for tonight's for tomorrow night's weekly conference.
Sure.
It was a pleasure having you on the show. Have yourself a good evening.
You too.
Bye
Goodbye.
bye.